Most people think rich people care most about money. They don't. Money matters. Of course it does. But it's not the real priority. Time is. And the reason isn't motivational. It isn't spiritual. It isn't about living your best life. It's practical. Rich people understand something early that most people realize far too late. Money can be replaced. Time cannot. Once you truly understand how wealth works, your entire relationship with time changes. And today, we're breaking down exactly why. At the beginning of life, money feels more important than time. When you don't have enough, every bill feels urgent. Every paycheck matters. Every dollar feels like survival, so people trade time for money willingly, hours, weekends, years, and at first, that trade makes sense. But here's where the mistake happens. Most people never stop trading time for money, even after they don't need to anymore. They upgrade lifestyles, but keep the same time-based thinking. That's the trap. Wealthy people don't avoid work. They avoid time dependency. They understand that the most dangerous position financially is this. If I stop showing up, the money stops. That's not freedom. That's fragile. Even a high income becomes a cage if it requires constant presence. So the priority shifts. Instead of asking, how much does this pay? They ask, how much time does this require? Forever? Here's a simple rule rich people live by, even if they never say it out loud. If something demands more and more of my time, it must either grow without me or I eventually walk away. Because time doesn't scale, effort doesn't scale, energy doesn't scale, but systems do. Ownership does. Leverage does. That's why time becomes more valuable than money. Most people try to save money. Wealthy people try to save years. They'll pay for speed, they'll pay for delegation, they'll pay to avoid small, repetitive decisions. Not because they're lazy, but because they understand something most people don't. Every hour you spend on low-level tasks is an hour you'll never get back to think bigger. And thinking is where wealth is created. This is also why rich people protect their calendars so aggressively. They don't attend everything. They don't respond to everything. They don't explain every decision. Not because they're rude, but because attention is expensive. Once your time is constantly interrupted, your ability to plan long-term disappears. And without long-term thinking, wealth never compounds. Here's the part that confuses most people. Wealthy people are often less busy, not more. They work fewer hours, but those hours sit at higher leverage points. Decisions instead of tasks. Direction instead of reaction. Positioning instead of effort. While most people are busy staying afloat, wealthy people are designing outcomes that take years to unfold. That's the difference. Money-focused thinking asks, how do I earn more? Time-focused thinking asks, how do I make this unnecessary? Unnecessary meetings. Unnecessary effort. Unnecessary repetition. Unnecessary urgency. Because urgency keeps you short-term, and short-term thinking keeps you average. This is why rich people don't panic the way others do. They don't rush every opportunity. They don't chase every trend. They don't overreact to short-term losses. They have time buffers, and time buffers create calm. Calm creates better decisions. Better decisions create wealth. Eventually, a quiet shift happens. Money becomes a tool. Time becomes the constraint. At that point, success isn't measured by income anymore. It's measured by control, flexibility, optionality. The ability to say no, the ability to wait, the ability to choose. That's real wealth. So, no. Rich people don't obsess over money. They obsess over what their money is buying them. And the best thing money can buy is not status, not comfort, not admiration. It's time. Time to think, time to build, time to choose differently. Because in the end, money can always be made again. But time never comes back. And once you understand that, your priorities are tiors, are shrishi, and your life change forever. Part 1. Money comes back, time doesn't. If you lose money, it hurts, but it's not permanent. Money can be recovered. You can earn more. You can rebuild income. You can change strategies. You can even start over completely. People do it every day. Businesses fail and come back. Savings disappear and get rebuilt. Careers reset and grow again. Money is renewable. Time is not. When time is gone, it's gone forever. There is no way to earn it back. No strategy to recover it. No investment that returns yesterday. And that single difference changes how wealthy people see the world. Most people think of time as hours. 8 hours of work, 2 hours of rest, a weekend off, a few years until something better happens. But rich people don't see time as hours. They see it as life capacity. They ask a different question. What can this hour do for my future? Because every hour carries potential. An hour can be used to build a skill, think clearly, make a decision, create leverage, or position yourself closer to opportunity. Or it can disappear quietly, scrolling, waiting, overworking without direction, doing things that feel busy but lead nowhere. To most people, wasted time feels harmless. Nothing breaks, nothing explodes, life continues. That's why it's dangerous. Time loss doesn't announce itself. It doesn't feel painful in the moment. It feels normal. But wealthy people understand something early. Time compounds before money does. A single focused hour used correctly can create years of return. And a single careless hour repeated daily can quietly erase a decade. This is why rich people protect time aggressively. Not politely, not apologetically, aggressively. They say no quickly. They leave earlier. They avoid unnecessary conversations. They don't attend everything they're invited to. They don't explain themselves to everyone. From the outside, this can look rude, or selfish, or detached, but it's not arrogance, it's math. They understand that every yes costs time, and every unnecessary obligation steals capacity. Most people trade time for comfort. Rich people trade comfort to protect time. They don't wait until they're exhausted to value it. They don't wait until they're older to regret it. They don't wait for permission to use it intentionally. Because time is the one asset that decides everything else. How much you can learn, how much you can build, how much leverage you can create, how many chances you'll get. Money follows time usage, not effort. Two people can work equally hard, but the one who protects their time will eventually pull far ahead. Not because they're smarter, not because they're luckier, but because they stopped spending life on things that don't move them forward. This is the uncomfortable truth most people avoid. You don't lose your future all at once. You give it away hour by hour, and wealthy people refuse to do that. Not because they're heartless, but because they understand what's irreplaceable. Money comes back, time doesn't. And once you truly understand that, you stop living casually. You start living deliberately. That's where the real difference begins. Part 2. Time is where leverage lives. Most people are taught one simple rule. Trade your time for money. You work a certain number of hours. You get paid for those hours. When the hours stop, the income stops. That system works, but it has a ceiling. Rich people play a different game. They don't trade time for money. They trade money for time. At first, that idea feels backwards. Why spend money when you're trying to save it? Because time is the real constraint. Money can be earned again. Time cannot. Every hour you spend on low-value work is an hour you can't use for higher-impact decisions. Wealthy people understand leverage. Leverage means getting more results without putting in more effort. And time is where leverage lives. That's why rich people outsource low-value tasks. Not because they think they're above the work, not because they're lazy, but because doing everything themselves costs them their most valuable asset, their time. If a task doesn't require their judgment, they delegate it. If a process repeats, they automate it. If a commitment doesn't move their life forward, they avoid it. This isn't about working less. It's about working on the right things. Most people stay busy all day but never create real momentum. They answer emails, they attend meetings, they handle small problems. At the end of the day, they're exhausted. But nothing meaningful has changed. Rich people protect large blocks of time. Time to think, time to plan, time to make decisions that compound. Because 1 hour of focused thinking can be worth more than weeks of scattered effort. A single good decision can change income, direction, or opportunity permanently. That's leverage. When you use time well, results multiply. When you waste time, effort disappears. This is why wealthy people are careful with commitments. They don't say yes quickly. They don't fill their calendar to feel productive. They don't mistake motion for progress. They understand that every yes is a hidden no to something more important. Time spent reacting is time not spent creating. Time spent maintaining is time not spent building. This mindset isn't reserved for the rich. Anyone can apply it. You don't need millions to protect your time. You need awareness. Ask simple questions. Is this task worth my attention? Can this be done faster, cheaper, or by someone else? Does this move me closer to long-term leverage? Most people try to work harder. Wealth comes from working smarter with respect to time. Because effort scales poorly, leverage scales endlessly. Time, when used intentionally, multiplies everything it touches. Waste it, and nothing grows. Protect it, and progress accelerates. That's why time is where leverage lives. And the sooner you understand that, the sooner your results start to change. Part 3. Busy people rarely get rich. Busyness looks productive. Meetings, emails, deadlines, constant movement. From the outside, it looks like progress, but most of the time, busyness is not a sign of importance. It's a sign of poor control over time. Busy people don't decide their days. Their days decide for them. They wake up already behind, already reacting, already responding to other people's priorities. By night, they're exhausted. But nothing truly meaningful moved forward. Busyness feels safe. When you're busy, you don't have to think too deeply. You don't have to question direction. You don't have to face uncomfortable choices. You're working, so it feels justified. But movement is not the same as momentum. Rich people don't try to fill their schedules. They do the opposite. They clear them. This is where most people misunderstand wealth. They think rich people are busy because they're important. In reality, they're important because they protect their time. Wealth isn't built by doing more things. It's built by doing fewer things that matter more. Rich people design their days around 3 priorities: high-impact decisions, long-term planning, quiet thinking. High-impact decisions are rare. They're not daily tasks. They're not emails. They're not meetings. They're decisions that change direction. What to build, what to buy, what to stop, who to partner with, where to focus energy. One good decision can outperform months of hard work. Long-term planning requires space. You cannot think in years when your mind is trapped in hours. You cannot design the future while constantly reacting to the present. Most people never plan long-term because their days are too loud. Quiet thinking is uncomfortable. There's no instant feedback, no notifications, no validation, just you and the truth. That's why most people avoid it. But quiet thinking is where clarity comes from. And clarity creates leverage. Busyness kills leverage. When every hour is full, nothing compounds. Most busy people spend their lives maintaining systems they didn't design. Jobs, schedules, expectations, lifestyles. They work hard, but they're trapped inside structures that only reward consistency, not creativity. The wealthy step outside those structures. Not because they're lazy, but because they understand something crucial. Money follows value. Value requires thought. Thought requires time. Wealth requires mental space, and mental space requires time. This is why rich people guard their calendars aggressively. They say no without guilt. They cancel meetings without apology. They leave gaps in their day on purpose. Not to relax, but to think. To most people, empty time feels unproductive. To the wealthy, it feels necessary. Busy people confuse effort with effectiveness. They believe, if I work harder, I'll get ahead. But effort without direction just creates exhaustion. Effectiveness comes from positioning, not pressure. Here's the uncomfortable truth. If you're always busy, you're probably replaceable. If your presence isn't required for decisions, strategy, or ownership, you're operating at the lowest level of leverage. Wealth grows when your thinking matters more than your labor, and thinking requires silence. Most people never get rich because they never escape busyness. They upgrade tasks, they upgrade titles, they upgrade stress, but they never upgrade control. The shift isn't about working less, it's about working differently. Stop asking, how do I get more done? Start asking, what actually moves the needle? Because busy people feel important, but positioned people become wealthy. Rich people don't fill schedules, they clear them. They don't chase urgency, they design outcomes. And that difference, quiet, boring, invisible, is where wealth is built. Part 4. Time protects decision quality. Rushed decisions are expensive. Not just emotionally, financially. Most people think money mistakes come from a lack of knowledge, not understanding investing, not knowing the rules, not being smart enough. But that's rarely the real cause. Most financial mistakes happen under pressure, not ignorance. Pressure, deadlines, bills, urgency, fear of missing out, fear of falling behind. Pressure forces decisions before thinking is complete. And when time disappears, judgment collapses. Think about the worst money decisions people make. Overpaying for something they don't need. Taking bad loans, ICE, accepting unfair job offers. Buying at the top. Selling at the bottom. These don't usually happen when someone is calm and well-rested. They happen when someone feels trapped, when rent is due, when savings are thin, when the clock is loud. Pressure doesn't just rush action, it narrows perception. Under pressure, people stop asking good questions. They stop comparing options. They stop imagining consequences. They ask only one thing: how do I make this pain stop right now? That question is expensive. Pressure almost always comes from one source: lack of time. Not time on the clock, time in life. When your financial margin is thin, every decision feels urgent. Every offer feels final. Every mistake feels fatal. You don't have time to wait. You don't have time to negotiate. You don't have time to walk away. So you accept what's in front of you, not because it's good, but because it's available. Wealthy people don't magically make better decisions. They make decisions with more time. That's the difference. Time is what protects decision quality. It creates distance between emotion and action. Instead of reacting immediately, time allows space. Space to think, space to check assumptions, space to let emotions settle. Time turns impulse into analysis. When rich people buy time, they're not buying laziness. They're buying clarity. They use time to avoid bad deals. Bad deals usually look attractive when rushed. High-pressure sales, limited time offers. Act now or lose the opportunity. Time exposes the truth. If a deal is good, it will still be good tomorrow. If it collapses under patience, it was never strong to begin with. Time filters out manipulation. They also use time to think through consequences. Most mistakes aren't made because outcomes were unknown. They were made because outcomes weren't considered. Under pressure, the future shrinks. People focus only on the immediate relief. Time expands perspective. It allows questions like, what does this cost me in 5 years? What happens if this goes wrong? Is this fixing the problem or just postponing it? These questions rarely get asked when someone is rushed. Time also allows waiting for better opportunities. Opportunities don't appear on command, they appear when conditions align. But most people are forced to act early. They take the first option because waiting feels dangerous. Rich people can wait, they don't chase, they observe. They pass on average opportunities. Not because they're confident, but because they're patient, and patience compounds. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Many people aren't bad decision makers. They're time-poor decision makers. When every decision is made under stress, even intelligent people make predictable mistakes. They overpay, accept unfavorable terms, lock into long commitments, sacrifice leverage for speed. Speed feels productive, but speed under pressure is usually expensive. Time reduces emotional decision-making. Emotion is not the enemy. Urgency is. Urgency hijacks logic. Fear rushes, excitement blinds. Relief overrides reason. Time slows all of it down. When emotions settle, Logic returns. When logic returns, mistakes decrease. That alone saves massive amounts of money. This is why wealthy people structure their lives around margin, emergency funds, low fixed expenses, flexible schedules, multiple income streams. These aren't luxuries, they're buffers. Buffers create time. Time protects decisions, and this is also why financial progress often feels slow at first. You're not just building money, you're building decision space. The ability to say, I'll think about it, I'll wait, I'll pass. Those sentences sound simple, but they are impossible without time. Most people chase higher income without realizing the real benefit. It's not spending power, it's breathing room. Breathing room removes panic. Panic removes mistakes. Mistakes quietly drain wealth. Time doesn't guarantee perfect decisions, but it dramatically reduces catastrophic ones. And wealth isn't built by brilliance. It's built by avoiding major errors long enough for compounding to work. So when you see wealthy people moving slowly, delaying decisions, waiting while others rush, it's not hesitation, it's protection. They understand something most people don't. Money grows best when decisions are made calmly, with time on their side. And that advantage over decades is worth millions. So if this helped you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. Stay focused, stay consistent, and keep building a future you'll be proud to look back on. Your journey continues from here.